And of course, I will ask our viewers to please tweet at us this morning if you have views on any of these things, and maybe you also your thoughts also on these stories that we've spoken about so far, from Gabon to here in Nigeria. Tweet at News Central TV. Let us know what your thoughts are. Now, let's move on from the newspapers. The National Organizing Secretary of the All Progressives Congress, Sulaiman Argungu, has announced a 124-member National Campaign Council for the November 11th governorship elections in Bayelsa State. Recall that the APC had distanced itself from a previous viral list from the Bayelsa poll that included the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Nyesom Wike, who had yet to formally resign from the People's Democratic Party. He's still, of course, a member of the party. But according to the list announced by Argungu, the FCT Minister Nyesom Wike is not a member of the council. Now, joining us to discuss further is Akinola Idowu Badhiru. He's a he's a management consultant rather than an APC Chieftain. Good morning. Thanks very much for joining us. Thanks for your time. Mr. Akinola, can you hear us clearly? You may want to help unmute your device. I'm not sure where this, we can't hear you. Help unmute your device so we can get on with the conversation. All right, let's get on with it. If you can hear us, then of course, yeah, I think we're having connection problems. Mr. Akinola, would like that you try and share with us, from the controversy yesterday, it mostly started from Nyesom Wike's name showing up on both the PDP's campaign council for Bayelsa State and the APC. The APC, of course, then had to withdraw his name and, of course, say that that list maybe wasn't approved to go out yet. What are your thoughts on what may have played out yesterday? Right. It's still, of course, challenges with the connection with Mr. Akinola Badhiru. Maybe, of course, so we can reconnect with him. But, of course, to put it in proper context, what played out yesterday was both parties, the APC and the PDP, put out the campaign council list for Bayelsa State governorship elections. The elections, of course, come up in November. And, of course, will feature the current governor, Doye Diri, for the PDP, and the APC's candidate, Timipre Silva, who was, of course, is a former governor of the state before eventually moving into other political positions, including being the Minister of State for Petroleum under President Muhammadu Buhari. He, of course, is returning back to contest once again for governor of the state in Bayelsa, of course, in November. Nyesom Wike, in question here, is a PDP member and one of the most vocal members of the People's Democratic Party, but at this stage also maybe not one of their best friends. He has criticized the party for many, many reasons, and of course in the video yesterday dared them to suspend him or even expel him from the party. Nyesom Wike, of course, was also seen to have seemingly helped the APC, which is the party which he is meant to be in opposition to win his state in the presidential elections in early 2023. And these are some of the reasons, of course, the calls for his suspension were rising, across the country. But that's, not all. Yesterday, 2 different lists for campaign councils in Bayelsa State elections were released, and Nyesom Wike's name showed up in both the PDP's list and the APC's list. Mr. Akinola, good morning. Can you hear us now?
Yeah, good morning. I can hear you.
Brilliant. Thanks. We can finally hear you now. Please go ahead. Let's have your thoughts on what played out yesterday with Nyesom Wike and his name showing up in both the APC's list and the PDP's list.
Yeah, thank you. In the first place, I want to align with Felix Moka, who is, of course, is the official mouthpiece for APC, and he has declaimed the list. But the fact is that APC and PDP naming Wike as member of their council shows that Wike has become a factor, you understand, that the political scene has come to live with. But be that as it may, I would like to think that, Wike needs to make up his mind, you understand, as to whether he's going to join the party, that is APC, and leave PDP or not. But not until that is done, I think that controversy surrounding him and his participation in political activities will continue. But the fact remains that for me, his membership of PDP should not, his being a minister for me should not interfere, with whichever political party he belongs to.
So
I think we should give him time for him to decide on which side of the political divide he wants to belong to. And if you look at PDP too they have been very careful. They can't expel him, they can't suspend him. So we also appreciate the fact that, we can have some level of leverage, among the followers in PDP. So it's a requirement, no doubt about that.
all right.
But I think that
We're sort of having we're struggling to properly hear you, Mr. Akinola Idowu Badhiru. We're hoping that the network can be properly, the connection can be properly sorted out so we can continue with the conversation. And you did mention that you don't see anything wrong in him being in one party, or him being a minister does not, whatever party he's affiliated to should not matter because he's Minister of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Some people have alleged that part of what he's doing is maybe daring the PDP to actually suspend him so he can finally daring the PDP to suspend him finally so that he can now officially decamp to the APC. Is this a school of thought that you probably would agree with? All right, doesn't seem we have Mr. Badhiru.
It's I don't know. It's tough argument, and I think it would also be nice to have top members of the PDP join us to share their thoughts on Nyesom Wike. Will he, as the FCT minister, campaign as a PDP member for the PDP's candidate, of course, in the state, which is Adoye Diri? The appointment that he's gotten as FCT minister came from the president, of course, which is an APC member. He, of course, in River State, seemingly, facilitated the victory of the APC in his own state, which is River State. And so it's going to be hard to convince anybody that he will work in the favor of the PDP.
So why exactly is he still remaining in PDP? Does that not reflect the strength or lack of it, of the PDP's disciplinary council? Right?
So I think it's not as easy to pull off as a lot of Nigerians are expecting. I think there's other factors that they, individually, from Atiku Abubakar, who was the flag bearer of the PDP, to Bukola Saraki and a couple of other people, many other people in the PDP, must have weighed what the options are and what the fallout would be from daring Nyesom Wike because of the political might that he carries, by himself. Mr. Akinola, can you hear us now?
Yes, I can hear you.
All right. So before we had that disconnection, I had asked you what your thoughts are based on the fact that some people have alleged that what is going on is Nyesom Wike actually daring the PDP so that when they do suspend him, he can finally, go to the APC and become an official member of the party. Is this a school of thought that you might agree with?
Yes, school of thought I would definitely agree with. And it's a natural process. If you are sent away from the shelter, you cannot remain in the sun or in the wind or under the rain. You must seek for another shelter. So if Wike is suspended or is on PDP, he will definitely seek refuge in another party. And I'm sure the natural party for him to seek refuge is All Progressive Congress.
Okay, well, now let's talk about Bayelsa State. Nyesom Wike will bring up later, but let's talk about Bayelsa State. Who do you? You're an APC, member, so I'm sure that you're, very, very, you're looking forward to the APC taking Bayelsa. Currently, of course, is a PDP state. But let's talk about your candidate, Timipre Silva. He, of course, was a governor of the state, a while ago, and then became Minister of State for Petroleum. His time as governor, of course, came with his own corruption allegations. I remember there was a time when there was a huge controversy over about 48 houses that were initially seized by the EFCC that, court orders eventually had him win back. Is this a candidate that you're proud of, you know, as an in the APC to go back to, of course, contest as governor for Bayelsa State?
Yeah, thank you very much. I'm happy you said controversies. When controversies become facts and evidential, then the public can take position, I can take a position. As of today, by all known laws, either within the party or in the Nigerian Constitution, Jimmy Silva is eminently qualified to run as the gubernatorial candidate of All Progressive Congress. The choice of who becomes the governor rests with the people of the state, who are not unknown to Jimmy Silva. If he has been a governor before and is a minister now and is coming back to be a governor, I think the people of the state will have to weigh the options that confront them. You understand? To now determine who they vote for. But I can tell you that, from all indications, Jimmy Silva is still popular among the Bayelsans. So I won't be surprised to see him overturning the current government that you have in place there. So let us leave whatever controversy surrounding him, you know, for the law to take its course. And let us look at this election and see him presuming to be innocent until he is adjudged otherwise. That's my position.
Well, he said that.
I understand. Apologies. I understand. The fact that he's still popular, and it is within his rights. Except courts, deem otherwise. But what I was trying to figure out is, is this the best candidate that the APC could present for Bayelsa State?
As of today, there are processes for becoming the candidate of the party. Jimmy Silva has been able to fulfill all the necessary conditions, and that is why he has emerged as the candidate of the party. The party is confident about his candidacy. The party is confident that his candidates can deliver the votes in Bayelsa, and I'm sure the party will want to support him with every resource possible to ensure that Jimmy Silva is returned as the governor of Bayelsa State come in November 2023.
He was rejected by the people of Bayelsa in 2015 or 2016.
Yeah. Don't forget that Nigeria has rejected President Buhari on 2 different occasions. And on the third attempt, Nigerians embraced him. So there is it's not casting in stones, and there's no condition that...
Him a second time, but if you ask a number of people if they were very proud of their decision, there are a number of people who would tell you that if they could go back to do it again, they might take a different turn. But what is it with us in Nigeria and recycling politicians, recycling leaders? Are we saying that there are no fresh crop of people that we can look amongst and select people who will represent us? For how long do you foresee that we will continue to recycle people who have been in power? It almost seems like there's a presumption that once you've been in office once, especially in the office of governor, you automatically should be there for 2 tenures. So when you haven't completed a second tenure, there's this desire to come back and say, I have just 1 more tenure to complete. It's a 4-year tenure, not an 8-year tenure. But subconsciously, once people get into power in Nigeria, we expect them to be there for 8 years. So the trend of having politicians recycled, will we ever see an end to it?
Yeah, excuse me. I don't know what you mean by recycling, okay? Recycling for me does not even come into this. There are processes, there are requirements, there are conditionalities for you to participate in politics, for you to participate in elections, for you to be nominated. Except there is a clear-cut constitutional provision that says that so person cannot contest. And I'm not sure that APC as a party has barred or has protected even the young ones from participating. If you look at the current, team of Mr. President, you will see people that are even under 40. So, which means that as we move on, there will be cross-generational of representation. And it's not on record that any younger candidate came out, participated in the primary, that was debarred from becoming the candidate. So for me, while I agree that there must be generational shift, I do not think it has to be abrupt, but rather it has to be transitional.
Well, that's a very fair point you've raised there, I must say. Indeed, we have to see there's no law barring younger people from participating in politics. You know, why I raised that question, of course, would be the fact that we see that even those who have served as governors oftentimes still want to come back and serve as ministers. It does seem like there's a never-ending cycle of the same people going in, going out. But yes, until we have more fresh faces indicating interest and being actually involved in politics, what we see is what we get. Thank you so much for your time with us this morning and for sharing your thoughts on this conversation.
It's my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Right. So it's very important. Well, every time we sing the national anthem and I hear the labor of our heroes past shall never be in vain, something that just comes to mind is the heroes past are still the heroes present. And if we're not careful, they will still be the heroes in the future. Our children will still sing the labors of our heroes past. And the people who we saw as heroes past will still be in office. But yes, it's a valid point our last guest mentioned. There's no law that bars them from running. There is procedures and there are processes. And until we see more young people being interested, doing the work, you know, to get into politics, we might keep recycling. I will use the word recycling the same people.
I agree, you know, but, you know, for me, it once again brings back the thoughts that I had with regards, you know, the whole idea, the whole concept of being in a democratic system and being able to decide who governs you is flawed to a large extent in Nigeria because many times you get to realize that the system brings up people that you do not necessarily want. You never will be able to see the system bring up the best quality of persons. It brings up people who can fund their way, who can bribe their way, who can, you know, mechanize their way through it. You know, and so eventually you pick from between the devil and the deep blue sea, and you never really get a sense that this democracy has given me the chance to put the person that I want in
exactly.
office, the person that millions of us want in office.
When we still have talks of godfatherism. Yeah. If we continue to talk about this, I mean, we will not be able to exhaust the depth of this conversation, but I'm sure we will keep digging even deeper into this.